Welcome to Doc Secret, the show where we uncover the playbooks, strategies, and stories behind the most successful dental and medical practice owners and the companies that serve them. This show is all about building the best practice. Whether you're a dental or medical student dreaming of private practice, a seasoned doctor looking to grow or sell, or an investor exploring the healthcare space, this podcast is for you. I'm your host, Kevin Carl, and in today's episode, we're diving into the path to becoming a doctor of veterinary medicine and becoming a valued practice leader and mentor. Let's get started. Welcome to Doc Secret. Our guest today is Dr. Grace Chen. Dr. Chen is an accomplished veterinarian currently directing the Coaching and Mentorship program at Sploot Veterinary Care in Chicago, Illinois. She earned her Doctor of Veterinary Medicine from Kansas State University and a Bachelor of Science from UCLA, building strong clinical foundations early in her career. Previously, she led medical teams at Boulevard Veterinary and contributed in shelter settings like Paws Chicago, reinforcing her passion for compassionate, high-quality care. At Sploot, Dr. Chen champions accessible, seamless, personalized veterinary medicine, empowering teams and harnessing innovation to enhance pet and pet parent experiences. Dr. Grace Chen. Grace, if I may, welcome to the program.
Thank you. I'm really excited to be here today.
Well, let's get started with kind of going back to the beginning. Could you share how you came to be interested in veterinary medicine?
Yeah, that's a good question. Just like a lot of people in my field, I've always wanted to be a vet since I was 5 years old. My kindergarten friend actually told me one day that you can grow up and work with animals, and it's a job where I can hang out with animals all day. Sign me up. It was so interesting. And from then on, my path was always dedicated to becoming a vet.
Nice. Well, you set out on that path, and I would say you have what some may say, not sure this is true, but some may say that you had a non-traditional path to becoming a doctor of veterinary medicine. You had to really want this. Could you share your path to your degree and what that meant to your doctor of veterinary medicine degree when you finally had that in your hand?
Yeah, I would agree with you that it was a non-traditional path. To be completely honest, when I graduated from UCLA with my undergraduate degree, I graduated with a 2.8. I just wasn't applying myself and I didn't have any goals or mentor to help me understand the path to getting into vet school. Um, I called so many vets and asked them, hey, would you be able to help me out? Give me some resources, and every single vet that I talked to said, "Listen, your GPA is not great. There's no chance that you're gonna ever get into vet school." That was the fire that drove me to want to prove them wrong, and I, rose to the challenge, and what I did was I got a job as a emergency technician, overnights, by the way. I put myself back into school. So I was working overnights and going to school in the daytime. And I did that for about 2 to 3 years. I wasn't making very much as a emergency veterinary technician at that time. I was making probably 30 grand a year, and 10 grand of that went into my schooling. And, there were some times where it was hard to eat, so I would have to shop at the Dollar Tree to get my food. I did that for 3 years. I got a 3.9 GPA, my second time going back into school, and I think my dedication and my perseverance is what helped me get into vet school, when I finally did apply. Um, when I did graduate, I felt like I finally achieved my life's purpose in helping animals. I felt so empowered and excited to be able to save lives.
Wow. Well, what a message to our audience around not taking no for an answer and really persevering. I think grit is the word that comes to my mind. Let me make sure I understand correctly, right? So you had your undergraduate degree, you went to school at night Tell us a little bit about what that meant. What kind of classes were you taking? What did that mean? How did you do homework while you're still working during the day? Could you just bring that to life for us a little bit?
Yeah, I failed organic chemistry twice. So that has to be a message for everyone that feels like a complete failure when they don't pass chemistry. I failed it twice and I still got to where I am today. Um, I think that being efficient and really not wasting any time is what helped me succeed. So, of course, we all have to do homework. When it was slow in the ER overnights, that's when I would do my homework and I would study. I also set a goal for myself. When I came back from school, I would spend 2 to 3 hours doing homework and studying, and then I would go to sleep, getting 6 or 7 hours of sleep every night and go back to work. And I think what really helped me focus myself was I had an end goal in mind and I never wavered from that. And if you set an end goal and you focus on that, you have a mission and you have a purpose. Um, and that's what helps drive me.
Wow. Well, so was that at Kansas State, or where were you doing your classes that led you to that?
That was a local state college, Cal State LA.
Mhm. So Cal State LA, you went back, basically took some of those hard science qualifying courses, got your GPA up. You did that for 3 years, and
Yeah.
then you applied to veterinary school.
Yeah.
Tell
I
tell us
applied to
about
vet school.
Tell us about what that was like the second time around, right? Applying to veterinary school. Did you apply to one, many? How did you go through that process of deciding where to apply, and what was your mindset like at that time?
Yeah. So I actually, um, that was my first time applying. I wanted to make sure that my application was perfect and the best that it could be. So I didn't even bother applying before I had the grades. Um, Applying to vet school is very expensive. It can range anywhere from $200 to $300 per application. At that time, there were only 28 vet schools in the country, and they all had extremely strict requirements of what classes you needed to take. Um, that kind of helped filter out half of those schools because I just either didn't have the time or I didn't take those classes. Um, the remaining vet schools that I applied to was just honestly what fit my application. And so you kind of go where you have to go when it comes to vet schools. I know that in human medicine, there's roughly 500 different medical schools you can get into. Veterinary medicine, there's less than 30. So I was just applying. I applied to Texas A&M. I applied to my state vet school, so Western, as well as UC Davis. I applied to Kansas. I applied to Cornell. Um, and when I finally did apply, it was my first time. I didn't even really get in. I didn't get a rejection letter, but I got a wait list. Um, and after the wait list, they said, "Listen, we want you to come in for an interview." So I did fly all the way out to Kansas with the limited funds that I had, did the interview, and after the interview, I got accepted.
Wow. So what I'm hearing is it's not just don't take no for an answer or put your best foot forward, but it's also stick to it all the way through. I know that there are a number of students who get waitlisted at various universities, whether that's undergraduate or later. And a lot of them do get in off the wait list. And some, it sounds like yourself, right, where you had to go for an interview. That's sort of a nail biter all the way through, isn't it?
All the way through, and when I finally got that acceptance letter, it was like a big relief for me. I finally got in, like, this is it. This is the start of my journey.
So you already had a very strong work ethic coming into veterinary school, right?
Yeah.
So you're in now veterinary school, you complete your degree. I'd like to talk a little bit about your work in shelter medicine and emergency roles. How did that shape your clinical identity and your values coming into practice as a doctor of veterinary medicine?
Yeah. So my path into veterinary medicine actually started with shelter work. Um, for years before vet school, I volunteered at my local shelter. And by the time I reached my fourth year, I dedicated all my rotations to shelter medicine. Becoming a shelter vet was my original goal. So when the chance came to move from general practice to shelter medicine, I jumped on it. Those experiences shaped how I practice today. I saw firsthand how pets were relinquished or euthanized just because families couldn't afford care. And what that taught me was the importance of meeting people where they are rather than only offering the gold standard. I'd much rather work with clients to find a better plan that allows them to be with their families, even if it's not the ideal option, because preserving that bond is so important.
Yeah, so from associate roles to medical director positions, including at Boulevard Veterinary and now with your role at Sploot, I'd like to talk a little bit about what leadership has meant to you. How has your style now evolved in the leadership roles that you've held?
My leadership philosophy has always been we are one team. No role is more important than another. I have to rely on my nurses and my front desk staff just as much as they rely on me. I believe that doctors aren't above any task. If something needs to be done, like cleaning up poop on the floor or taking out the trash, I'll do it. And that's my leadership style is I do practice servant leadership, which means if I'm going to ask my team to do something, I'm right there alongside with them. I'm not directing from above. My goal is to have everyone feel empowered in their role and take pride in what they do.
Well, that's fantastic. Sounds like you're a hands-on leader. I'd like to talk then a little bit about your current role as the camp director. So maybe you could explain what this counseling and mentorship program is and how that aligns with your personal values.
Yeah. So mentorship has always been very important to me. Like I mentioned earlier, I didn't have a lot of mentorship getting into vet school. I certainly didn't have any mentorship when I stepped into my first job. Um, Quite honestly, as scary as it was, I was asking my colleagues for help. There were some days where I would have to do surgeries and there was nobody to help, so I had to YouTube videos. I know it's not great, and that's the reality of veterinary medicine is that it's hard to find mentorship. I never want anyone to go through what I went through, and that's why I believe in passing it forward and helping cultivate the next generation of veterinarians so they don't have to struggle the way I do and make mistakes the way I did because it's not great for patient care. It's also not great for career growth. It's not necessary. So I, try to be a part of helping the next generation of veterinarians learn and understand. And that is a really big passion of mine.
Well, what advice would you have for, let's say that there's someone listening and they are maybe they're early in their veterinary career, or maybe like you, they haven't yet applied. And so they're looking for mentors to help guide the path. First, how important is mentorship in developing one's career from your perspective? And second, what advice would you have for them on how to seek out mentors?
One thing you would have to do is talk to people, an email, send us a message on LinkedIn. I think most veterinarians are not shy when it comes to wanting to help the next generation and answer any questions. Um, One advice I would give to vet students is really talk to the veterinarians about what student loans mean. I think there is a very um, there's a lot of confusion about how much it means financially to take on that debt. Um, don't be afraid to ask them what repayment actually looks like. Shadow a vet for a couple weeks. I know some people in their minds want to be vets. It's that dream job that everyone wants to do, but once people actually get in the clinics and see blood and poop and how dangerous it can be, um, you have to really want this. And if you're scared of blood, if you're scared of animals, this might not be the career for you. I think that talking to vets about what they find to be the hardest part of their jobs and honestly reflect if you're ready for those challenges. If after all of that you still feel really passionate and driven to become a vet, then go for it wholeheartedly and don't give up on it.
Well, you've now begged a interesting question that I just have to ask. What is the hardest part of your day-to-day life as a veterinarian?
Oh, it's very multifaceted. Um, I think it's not only treating your patients, which is your dogs and cats and horses and cattle, but also, quote unquote, treating the owners of these animals. Um, some people think that going into veterinary medicine, you don't have to talk to owners because you're just dealing with patients. I think it's the complete opposite. I think all we're doing all day is talking to owners and somehow convincing them what needs to be done for their pets. Um, you do have to kind of be a really good salesperson because you're advocating for the pet, um, because they can't speak up for themselves. You also have to deal with financial limitations. That's just, you know, we don't have insurance systems like human medicine do. This is mainly a cash based industry. And so it's trying to figure out the best solution within the owner's means. And, I think the hard part is sometimes you feel like you just can't give it your all for whatever reason, financial limitations, the medicine isn't there. But um yeah, I think the hardest part is trying to find a way to find peace with that.
That makes sense. I'm curious, do you see a broader reach of insurance into the space? Would you maybe as a follow-up question, would you advise pet owners to get pet insurance?
Yeah, I think as veterinary medicine continues to grow, we are seeing more people purchasing pet insurance. Um, you know, just like everything out there, there are some people that are staunchly against pet insurance. They say that pet insurance didn't cover any of their costs. My advice really is consider one of two things: pet insurance, so that in case of life threatening emergencies, there is a way that you can somehow reduce the cost of their care, or just continuously putting money in a high yield savings account, something so that when something devastating does happen, you don't have to make that hard decision and say goodbye to your pet.
Yeah, that's good advice. I know a lot of students particularly get pets in college and maybe are not as informed as to what the true cost of pet care can be. But everybody that has a pet at some point probably faces that experience where there's an emergency or their pet needs care, and it can be costly. So um, that resonates certainly with me.
I did want to say one more thing.
Yeah.
Please look for resources out there. There are so many low cost clinics and shelters, and rescues and foundations that can help support you if you are not able to afford care for your pets. All of these organizations and clinics and foundations, their main goal is to keep you with your pet. Having a pet with their owner is so much better than having that pet end up in the shelter. So there are resources out there. You do have to work to find it, but there is help if you need it.
That's a great message, Grace. Thank you. Your your current practice, let's talk about that for a moment. Your current practice prioritizes same or next day appointments and strong pet parent bonds. How does this reflect broader shifts in client expectations? And how do you personally balance quality and efficiency in what you do in the practice?
Yeah. So since COVID, we've seen a really big shift in client expectations around access to care. During that time, everyone had a pet that needed to be seen, and some of these general practices weren't able to see them for 2 to 3 weeks. And that's a long time to wait when your pet is really sick. Um, that's when these urgent care facilities became more common, where they do offer same day or next day appointments.
Mhm.
What makes our practice unique at Sploot is that we're both an urgent care and a general practice, which means we're there for the pets in moments of crisis, but we're also there for their wellness journey. We also have the ability to handle some emergency surgical cases, such as when your pet ate something they weren't supposed to and they need a foreign body
Uh-huh.
surgery, or bladder stone removals, or an infected uterus.
Well, let's talk a minute about the advancement in technology. What role do advanced technical tools, whether it's diagnostics, telemedicine, workflow systems, whatever it may be, how do these advanced technology tools play in your approach there at Sploot? And how do they enhance outcomes for patients?
So, technology is the core of how we practice at Sploot. Nearly everything that we do is on a cloud based system, from our electronic medical records to blood work to x rays. And what this does is this kind of transparency keeps pets parent pet parents engaged um, and informed, which ultimately leads to better outcomes. When owners are able to understand their pet's condition, they can ask better questions. They can do their own research and feel confident in the care that they receive. Having these records available 24/7 can also be life saving in emergency situations. So, if your pet has to go to an emergency facility, that medical team can instantly see their history, all the diagnostics and treatments that were done, which helps prevent delays and improve continuity of care.
Well, that's increasingly, I think, a core part of all medical practices. I mean, we see it across a wide range of disciplines and subspecialties. I'm curious whether in your specialty, have you seen AI now playing a role in your practice?
Oh, yeah. I am a
Mhm.
big fan of AI. Honestly, I can't see myself ever going back to not practicing without AI. So at our clinic, we use an AI program that records the conversation with the owners, and it writes our medical notes for us and even our discharges for us. The AI program also documents part of our physical exam so we don't miss or forget anything about our patients. Before, writing notes would take me 10 minutes per patient, and now it takes me 3 to 4 minutes. And when you're seeing 15 to 18 patients a day, that can add up to almost 2 hours every single day that's saved. And that gives me time to do things that I really enjoy, like giving my dog a bath or doing laundry.
Yes, it has a personal impact, right? Your ability to get your time back. I'm curious, as a practice, does it also allow you to see more animals in a day? I know it varies, right, based on the demand of the day,
Yeah.
but do you find that it's also giving you time back to see additional patients?
I think seeing patients, that's a tough question. Yes, in a way, but we're also limited on the amount of support staff that we have when it comes to
Mhm,
seeing patients. Even though
mhm.
it does cut down on medical note time, that's not always the limiting factor. We do need hands-on because a lot of our work is hands-on, drawing blood, taking x-rays. What I do find is that it allows me to spend more time face to face with the owners in the room and actually build that relationship because I don't have to worry about rushing and going back and finishing my notes. I can actually have meaningful conversations and explain things more thoroughly in a way that allows owners to understand what their pet's condition is.
Wow. Well, that's great. Um, I see that in a lot of the conversations that I'm having, particularly with guests on this program and also in the marketplace, that practices are trying to figure out a way to plug in AI in a meaningful way. Sounds like you found something that's working for you, which is great to hear. Um, how do you, going back to the mentorship piece for a moment, because I would imagine that in your practice, people are looking to you. They're watching you as the camp director in your practice. How do you foster mentorship? How do you foster things like continuing education or team collaboration within your clinical environment?
Yeah. I believe that most people enjoy teaching when they feel confident about those skills and have the time. So I always make it a priority to teach, even if it takes a little bit longer. Spending that extra 5 minutes to explain or demonstrate something can give that person skills that can last a lifetime. What's even better is when I see that same person pass that knowledge on to another person, and that just builds confidence and teamwork across the entire clinic.
Yeah, let's talk about this for a minute and sort of dig in on that. You hands on, you're showing um, someone in your practice what it is that you're doing. That has to be rewarding when you see them perform that procedure, maybe on their own or as the lead on that. Uh, what trends in veterinary medicine energize you, if I can use that term? Whether it's trends in pet ownership, practice ownership models, mentorship, delivery of medicine. What are the things that you see that are really energizing you in the market?
I think what really excites me is seeing how veterinary medicine continues to evolve rather than stay stagnant. We're now keeping up with a lot of the same technologies and therapies being developed in people. Um, One of them that comes to mind is this company, biotech company called Loyal, who recently reached an FDA milestone showing reasonable expectation of effectiveness for an injection designed to extend the lifespan of senior dogs. And it could be available as early as 2025. That kind of technology and breakthrough can really completely change how we approach geriatric care and help pets live longer.
Well, what does that do as an example? Like, how does that work? I don't know if you have that context, but would love to just hear about that for our audience who may have a geriatric pet and they're thinking about it.
I don't want to speak too much on it because I am not a biotech specialist, but I believe that it has something to do with DNAs and telomeres. Um,
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
yeah. So
That's exciting.
I'll have to
So
do
you
some
think
research, but it has something to do as you age, the telomeres shorten, and that's
Mhm.
what, speeds up the aging process, you know? Your cells aren't able to regenerate as quickly as before, and I think what this company is doing, I'll have to do some research into that, is that it reduces the time that telomeres shorten so that you just kinda stretch it out for a little bit longer.
Wow, well, that's amazing to see these, let's call them transitional research programs extend from human research. And I know it's a symbiotic relationship, right? Because there is a lot of animal research that precedes human trials. But then there's also the broader case of medicine for humans that comes back into veterinary medicine.
Yeah.
Um, I'm reminded of my own pet who had an ACL repair, right? These are increasingly surgeries that happen in a variety of pet types. And it's exciting to see something like that coming, particularly for those of us who are very attached to our pets and want to see them lead long, healthy lives.
Yeah. And a lot of these technologies have the purpose of um, reducing surgical needs, so it's less invasive, better outcomes, um, and uh, better prognosis overall.
That's great. Could you share maybe let's bring Sploot to life, if you could, a little bit for our audience here. Could you share maybe a new process, tool, or a team-led idea that's made a marked difference in pet care or clinical workflow for you?
Yeah. So something that I feel very passionate about is practicing fear-free medicine. Um, it's one of the most impactful changes that I've implemented when we're doing surgeries. So what fear-free is it's actually a newer trend. It's been gaining momentum over the past 5 to 10 years, and it focuses on reducing fear, anxiety, and stress in the patients, so the pets, to create a more positive veterinary experience. So, in my clinic, I developed a protocol where every surgery patient receives a very mild calming medication at home 1 hour before dropping off for their surgery.
Mhm,
And the owners give this medication.
mhm.
This simple step makes the biggest difference. It helps our patient feel calmer and safer throughout the hospital stay. It allows us to use less injectable sedatives and anesthesia, which improves overall surgical safety because they're not fighting it, they're not anxious. And
Mhm,
it even helps our nursing staff reduce the risk of bites or scratches from our fearful patients.
mhm.
The result is a much smoother and safer, less stressful experience for everybody involved, the pets, their owners, and the whole veterinary team.
Wow, that's great. This reminds me of, what's happening in dentistry, right, with, sedative dentistry. Sounds a little bit of like something to take the edge off and set the pet up for a great visit.
Yeah, exactly.
Could you share a particularly memorable case, or perhaps it's a team moment that exemplifies your practice's approach or your leadership values?
Something that comes to mind was a recent case over the past 2 weeks. Um, I guided two new doctors through a cystotomy, which is a bladder stone removal surgery. I
Yeah.
completely stayed hands off the entire time and coached them only through verbal instruction. My goal was to give them the space to be hands on because that's how we develop real confidence and surgical ability. If I step in every time, it doesn't give them the chance to grow.
So it sounds like that's a real practical case of hands-on for for your team, but also leadership development for you because you're influencing through leadership as opposed to having to do it all yourself.
Yeah, correct.
Well, what advice, sort of looking outside of us in this conversation, I'd love to explore some advice you might have for others. What advice would you have for someone who may already be working in veterinary medicine? This is maybe somebody who is a technician, right? And they are contemplating, should I or shouldn't I? Like, is this could I do it? Maybe they're on the fence. Maybe they don't necessarily have the schooling. Would you advise them if they really love it, like you said earlier, to jump in and go for it? What might they do to help tee themselves up for that?
It's hard because I feel like a lot of technicians, they either know or they don't know, or they know that they want to become a vet
Mhm.
or they know that they don't want to become a vet. I rarely have someone that is like, "Mm, I'm not sure." And I think that is a time situation. They just
Okay.
don't have enough time in the field yet. Someone who doesn't know is probably new to the field, maybe 1 or 2 years into the field. Once you have more time in the field, I think techs who have been practice or have been in the field for 3 to 4 years, they're like, "Yep, I know I wanna be a vet. We're gonna keep pushing through," or, "No, I never wanna become a doctor. You guys do so many things that I don't like."
I get that. Okay, that's helpful context. So I appreciate you shedding some light on that. Well, let's speak now then to students at veterinary school. How do you advise that they approach their first year after school?
My advice is do as many externships as possible. Find a place that will allow you to be hands on and learn as much surgery as you can. Um, Shadow the doctors, ask questions, be excited, be passionate, be enthusiastic about veterinary medicine. Find a mentor who is also passionate about teaching. um, Talk to that person and interview them before you commit to a whole summer. I've also been in situations in vet school where I was promised mentorship. And when I got there, I was just a glorified veterinary technician. And I didn't get much out of that summer, except I just strengthened my tech skills.
Mhm. Mhm. Well, thanks for sharing that. Let's talk about this. You've had a very, I would say, inspiring is the word I would use, an inspiring path. What is one life lesson that you can share with others that will help them succeed in veterinary medicine?
Be humble and never stop learning. I always tell every person that I mentor, I don't know everything. I don't know everything all the time. Um, right now, we look back at veterinary medicine that was practiced 50 years ago, and we'd say, "Oh, I would never do that nowadays. That's so archaic." But guess what? 50 years from now, those vets will also comment on how we practice and say the same thing. So always be humble, stay open minded, and keep up with the latest studies and technology and medication.
Oh, that's great advice. Well, Grace, I'm sure you're aware that we end each of our episodes with a lightning round. These are quick questions designed for quick answers. Are you ready for that?
Sure, let's do it.
All right. What's one must read book that's influenced you professionally, personally, or as a leader?
So, with this entire journey of being a veterinarian, it was hard. I doubted myself a lot, but one book that I have read several times is The Alchemist by Paulo Coelho. It's a story about a boy who goes on a journey. He has to listen to his heart and his universe to find his mission in life. He perseveres no matter what the obstacles he faces. And that book has given me so much hope when I thought things were really dark, and it helped me get into vet school. And I would highly recommend anyone to read that book if they have any doubts about what they want to do in life.
Wow, that's a strong recommendation. I always love to hear new books that I've never heard of. So thank you for that one. What is one quality you wish that every pet owner embraced?
I wish that every pet owner recognized that we are humans too, and that everything that we do comes from a place of genuinely caring about pets. Medicine is not an exact formula, and outcomes aren't always predictable. But every recommendation that we make at the end of the day is in their pet's best interest. At the end of the day, we're all on the same team, and we're all doing the very best for your loved ones.
What is a single piece of advice for aspiring veterinarians or new leaders entering the field?
It's easy to lose yourself in veterinary medicine, so you have to remember to have a life outside of it as well. We're lucky to work in a profession where our passion is also our profession, but that can make it all consuming. And when things inedible And when things inevitably go wrong, and they will go wrong, it can feel crushing when vet med is your whole world. So, my
Mhm.
advice is never forget that you are a whole person with unique qualities and values beyond being a veterinarian. And nurturing those parts of yourself will make you not only a better doctor, but a more fulfilled human being.
Oh, that's great. What is one change, whether that's in practice, technology, culture, et cetera, that you hope to see in veterinary care in the next 5 years?
Yeah. I truly value all of the incredible skills that our veterinary assistants and technicians bring to the team. My hope for the future is that there is an opportunity for everyone in these roles to become credentialed or complete a proficiency exam. We have so many talented individuals, and having a way to standardize that care is going to validate those skills and elevate our profession as a whole.
Great. Well, Grace, how do you recharge personally? How do you recharge and maintain balance outside the clinic? Do you have any hobbies or rituals you can share with us?
One thing that has been life changing for me is yoga. It brings me a peace of mind. It's a sacred space where I don't have to think about work and I'm not treated as a veterinarian. I am just me working on myself. And it has honestly been one of the most life changing hobbies or rituals I have gotten into.
Well, that's great. Great to hear. Dr. Grace Chen, it has been an honor and a pleasure. Thank you so much for joining us here on Doc's Secret and sharing your experience and perspectives with us. Really appreciate you coming on the show.
Thank you, Kevin.
If you liked today's episode, please like and subscribe. And most importantly, share this podcast with others you think may benefit from the Doc secrets shared here today.